This is the plaintiff, Russell Wagner. He says the defendant, a real estate broker, found him an apartment which he was going to rent, but once he spoke with the landlord, they both agreed it wasn't a good fit. The defendant now refuses to return the $1,700 fee he paid her. He never signed a lease. This woman has no right keeping his hard-earned money, and today's judgment day, because he's suing her for just that. This is the defendant, Hannah Kowecki. She says she showed the plaintiff this apartment twice. He liked it. She prepared all the paperwork, collected the security deposit and her fee from him, and the apartment was ready to move in. A week later, he changed his mind and now expects all the work she did for him was because she works for free? Sorry, buddy, but her fee is her fee, and she's keeping it. She's accused of not doing her job.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff hired the defendant, a real estate broker, to find him an apartment, but says the deal fell through and now she won't return his money. Now the defendant says she did the work, so if he didn't seal the deal, it's his problem. It's the case of getting real over real estate.
Thank you, Douglas. Okay, Mr. Wagner, you are suing your former real estate broker, Ms. Kowecki, for $1,700, her broker's fee that you paid her because, according to you, she didn't earn it. Tell me, what happened?
I reached out to her to get an apartment because I own my own home in Pennsylvania. I had explained to her that I have a house in Florida. I go there in the winter, but I had just recently sold my house about a year or two ago, and I was looking for an apartment because my kids and my grandkids are there. So when I come to visit, I was contemplating moving back to Queens. Anyway, she showed me the apartment. It needed work. You know, I told her I had 4 dogs. You know, the dogs were my issue.
I imagine it's very hard to find an apartment that'll accept.
So I knew needing work being done, I would have to do, being that the dogs, but they didn't know me, having the dogs would be a problem. Anyway, I looked at the apartment. I said I like the apartment. They said it is what it is. It was a short, it was a short look through, whatever, because I had a doctor's appointment. We left. She told me the apartment was mine. She spoke to the, I guess, one of the owners, and explained I had the dogs. And she kept saying, they were small dogs. He's a nice guy, whatever, And she said to me, I told her, you didn't get into it, but she said, don't worry about it. They don't come around. They're not going to bother you. Anyway, I left. I had contacted that night and told her I had a communion for my granddaughter that Saturday. I was coming in.
Well, before that, according to your statement, you went to see the apartment again that weekend. You drove by and you saw another realtor showing it.
That's that day I'm talking about.
Okay, so you contacted the defendant because you were concerned because you wanted it.
Right.
Okay.
So I came in for that Saturday with my sister, drove in from PA, and I went to the apartment to show my sister where it was. She looked in the window. I looked in the window just to see. I seen the door open, and I seen somebody in there, and I thought it was a landlord. So I figured I would just introduce myself. Make a long story.
That was awkward. So you walked in on someone else's showing, and what'd you say?
Nothing. I just said, I was, I looked at the apartment. I was interested in the apartment. That
Did you say to the people who were showing the apartment, "Hey, I've already got this apartment"?
Right. Yes.
Had you put money down?
Not at that point, no.
Okay. I was told I had this apartment, with the person who's there looking at the apartment. Oh, all right, go ahead.
So I left, and I did what I went to the communion. I had text the defendant that that I was there and somebody was looking at the apartment. She said not to worry, the apartment's yours. Anyway, I met with her that Tuesday, which was the 24th, and I brought the 2 checks, and she insisted upon her commission was $1,700 cash. They didn't want a check, they wanted cash. It raised a red flag. Make a long story short, I went there.
Why did you want cash?
Just because we have a few times back experience with bouncing checking.
Right. So you pay her cash because you're taking the apartment. And what happens? Do you have a written contract with him for your fee, like anything that he signed?
Yes.
May I see it? Okay,
Yes.
and what happens?
I met her at the apartment. I did a fast walkthrough because I had a doctor's appointment. Went back.
Are you repeating yourself from the first time you looked at the apartment?
No, this is the second time.
You also had a doctor's appointment the second time?
Yes, I had.
Okay, go ahead.
I was having breathing problems, so I had to go for tests.
Okay.
Anyway, we went back to her office. She had me fill out. There was a lease. I didn't know.
Okay, so it's right here. Broker's commission, apartment rental proposal. You fill that out. You pay a security of $1,700, and then the tenant is to pay the realty company the broker sum of $1,700 for the services of locating the above premises. It is understood this fee is due and payable on the date this proposal is signed by the prospective tenant, and you signed the proposal that day. Okay, and then you pay her. What ended up happening with you in this apartment? Why did you not want it? You didn't want it, right? The landlord didn't say you can't have 4 dogs.
Because I didn't know I had to take care of the snow in the winter, which I was going to Florida. I didn't know I had to maintain the sidewalk.
Right, but you had already put down money. You had already put the security.
But I didn't know that. She never informed me of any of that.
Right, but you had already given the security deposit.
Because I signed the papers, and she said, don't worry about it. The landlord don't come around.
So what didn't you like about the lease? That it required you to do what?
Maintain the property.
What did you think the lease would do? Is it an apartment?
Well,
is it a...
it was an apartment. I was supposed to take the garbage in and out. And
what planet would you not have to take the garbage in and out? I'm not understanding. It's your garbage.
From the curb. No. I take care of the garbage for the house. I shovel the sidewalk in the winter, and if I was in...
Are there other people living there?
Yes, it's a 2-family house. It was my sole responsibility.
Taking care of everybody's
the house garbage. Yes, the house garbage.
Okay, show me on the lease where it said that.
I don't have a lease. I have no copies of nothing.
Okay, do you have the lease?
No, the lease.
The lease that gave you a problem that caused you to back out.
I don't have it. She never gave me one.
How'd you know what it said?
I read it in there, and then I spoke to the landlord on the phone because they did a phone conference after I signed it.
After you signed what?
The lease.
Oh, you did sign the lease?
Yes, it's there.
Oh, so everything that was on the lease you agreed to. But you're saying that the landlord added things above and beyond what was on the lease.
When I spoke to him over the phone.
Okay,
correct.
well, he doesn't have a right to do that, so you don't have to worry about what he says. He can say afterwards that you have to wear red every day. That doesn't mean that you have to do it because you'd already signed the lease with what you needed there. So but what ends up happening that day?
Mr. Wagner texts me that he doesn't, no, called me early in the morning and told me he resigning. Meanwhile...
That he doesn't want it. Did he say why?
No. Actually, I don't know the reason even why. Up to today, I don't know why he resigned. He loves it. He make me hold on to it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it sounds like
don't show it to nobody.
Yeah, what do you think you're doing here? This is my apartment. I got this stuff.
That's what
did cause you to change your mind? According to you, it's that the landlord expected more of you than what the lease said?
Right. Well, if I'm going to be in Florida in the winter, that means someone has to shovel us.
Why you were shaking your head when he said all this stuff about, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. Go ahead.
Because I don't know anything about that. I don't think landlord asked Mr.
You think he's making it up because he wants his money?
That's what I exactly
You ended up
think.
getting your money back from the landlord, right?
Right.
Yeah, the landlord didn't want you there if you don't want to be there. And then what happens? Did you end up re-renting that to somebody else or no?
After a month. Because I have perfect tenants for this apartment. But plaintiff insists if he's not showing
How do you figure
nobody.
that you are going to get it back because you changed your mind after you signed a lease?
So does the realtor get to keep her fee?
No.
Why?
She didn't close the deal.
She didn't close the deal because the guy changed his mind.
I would say yes. The realtor did the work, went through and fulfilled all the specifications to the contract.
Fair point. Case closed. Going inside the courtroom.
You not only agreed to this, you signed a lease. You end up going there and saying, what do you think you're doing? No. This place was promised to me. And you hand her the commission. You've already paid it. It's not like she's suing you for it. And then the next day you change your mind for whatever reason you change your mind. You're claiming that, well, too much would be expected of me. But he can't expect, I don't believe you. Because he can't, just because a landlord says, I want you to wear white after Labor Day, whether you like it or not. What difference does that make what he says he wants? You have a lease, and that's what he's confined to. And it's not the landlord who said, no, I'm adding stuff about this and that. It's you who call and say, I changed my mind. And you end up changing your mind the next day, which now makes it April 25th, and then puts the landlord, who was so nice to return your money, in the position that he ends up not being able to rent it the next time. And you not only want that money back for changing your mind, you also want her commission? No. This verdict is for the defendant. You're lucky you got the money back from the landlord.
So the plaintiff fails to provide enough testimony to win your case. That's what it comes down to. The judge said you're lucky you got the money back from the landlord. You think, though?
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Well, you signed the lease, you're on the hook, at least to her. She gets her fee. What have you learned?
Nothing. Not to deal with real estate.
Okay.
Pretty much.
That's not really what you should have learned. All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Kawicki, all right. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. You can keep your fee.
Thank you.
Okay.
I did my job. I put my time and effort to rent this apartment. And I am glad that I didn't work for nothing.
I
just
understand.
got
We all
paid for my
understand.
work.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
okay?
you.
You must sign a few documents. Harvey, a good lesson for anyone leasing an apartment.
Okay, Doug, one caveat. If the contract said the realtor only gets paid if the deal is closed, then guess what? The realtor loses.